I went no contact with my entitled parents after they chose to support my stepsister Mia's affair with my boyfriend. Now, 2 years later, they're back, demanding that I break up with my new boyfriend, who just so happens to be my ex's boss, because it makes them uncomfortable. Let me backtrack and tell you how it all started. When I was around 7 years old, my dad cheated on my mom with Karen, my stepmom. After their divorce, my mom moved away and remarried. I was always under the impression that my mother abandoned me, and that's exactly what my dad told me. At the time, it made sense to me. My stepmom Karen already had a daughter, Mia, who was 5. Mia and I were close growing up, at least until puberty hit. That's when everything changed. Mia turned into this stunning girl. She was the picture-perfect, popular type, always in the spotlight, getting attention wherever she went. People, including my relatives, favored her over me. I was never ugly, but I wasn't like her. I was more of the bookish, sporty type, not someone who craved attention. Still, it stung to see everyone fall all over her while I quietly stayed in the background. My dad, being the opportunist he is, seized on Mia's popularity. He saw how much more attention she got, so he started focusing all his energy on her, sidelining me. It pissed me off, but I pushed my feelings aside. I told myself that if I did something impressive, it would eventually get noticed. I worked hard in school, graduated from a prestigious university, something no one in the family had done before. Finally, my dad threw me a party. For a moment, I felt like he was proud of me. But Mia, as usual, was jealous. During my last year of high school, I started dating Tim, a guy I thought was different. Tim and I were inseparable. By the time we reached college, he proposed to me. But we decided to wait until graduation to tie the knot. We were happy, or so I thought. One semester break, I went to Tim's house. When I walked in, I saw him in bed with Mia. My world collapsed in an instant. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Tim, my boyfriend, was having sex with my sister. And Mia, my stepsister, looked up at me with that smug, infuriating smirk on her face. I will never forget it. I screamed at them both, but when I confronted my dad and Karen about it, they took Mia and Tim's side. My dad told me that Tim had fallen out of love with me and fallen in love with Mia. I was supposed to be the bigger person, forgive them, and move on. He actually said that I should give them my blessing for their relationship instead of being petty. I lost it. I shouted at him, accusing him of hypocrisy, reminding him how he'd done the same thing to my mother. He didn't care. He threatened to disown me if I didn't accept their relationship and attend their wedding. I stormed off, crying for days. That was the moment I realized. My dad didn't care about me. Not at all. He never had. But thank God, I had friends who were there for me. They pushed me to start therapy, which helped me begin to heal, but my mind was still consumed with rage. I wanted revenge. I wanted Mia to pay. My plan started simple. I considered showing up at her wedding wearing white. But then I ran into Jay, Mia's ex. He'd been on and off with her for years, and Mia had always manipulated him. I could see the bitterness in his eyes when he found out about her betrayal with Tim. He wanted revenge too. So, I came up with a new idea. Jay would be my +1 to Mia's wedding. Mia still had feelings for him, and I knew it would drive her crazy.
He didn't cut it.
This wasn't just about me. This was about making Mia and my dad regret everything they'd done. The wedding day came. I wasn't part of the wedding party, but my dad and Karen were cordial, pretending everything was fine. But as soon as Mia saw me with Jay, her face turned white. I wore a bright red dress. I'd read somewhere that red meant you'd slept with the groom. It was over the top and I loved it. Mia was as red as my dress, and it was glorious. I was extra touchy with Jay, leaning in to whisper in his ear, dancing so close to him that people were definitely staring. I could feel Mia's anger radiating from her as she watched. The best part was when I was asked to give a speech. I kept it short, but it was enough. Thank you for having me here today. If I had more sisters, maybe Tim would have swapped me with one of them. You know how he has a thing for certain types. The look on Mia's face was priceless. The next day, I was bombarded with calls and messages from my dad, my stepmom, and Mia. I ignored them all. Jay and I parted ways as agreed. It was over. I knew I needed closure, so I decided to find my mom. I'd spent my whole life thinking she'd abandoned me, but something told me there was more to the story. It didn't take long to find her on Facebook, and when we reconnected, I learned the truth. My father had won the custody battle, using my mom's past substance abuse to prevent her from having visitation rights. It wasn't her fault. I wasn't abandoned. I was just kept from her. Meeting my mom and my half-brothers felt like a new beginning. It felt good to finally know the truth and to have a family who actually cared. 2 years after the wedding incident, I met Andy. We connected at an alumni event. He was 5 years older than me, but we had so much in common. Andy was kind, supportive, and understanding. He treated me with respect, something Tim never did. I couldn't believe how much better he was than Tim in every way. He had a good job, too, and a position that made him well established in his career. Everything was going great until my dad and stepmom showed up, uninvited, demanding that I break up with Andy. It turns out Andy was Tim's boss. My dad and Karen said that my relationship with Andy was unacceptable. They told me I was hurting Mia by dating Tim's boss, and that I should break it off. I told them to fuck off. My love life was none of their business. The dinner went downhill after that. Tim called me drunk, saying he wanted to escape from Mia. He said he'd never realized what he lost until he saw me with Andy. I ignored him completely. It didn't stop there. My dad called again, telling me that Andy and I were causing tension in Mia and Tim's marriage. I told them I didn't care. I didn't want anything to do with their toxic mess. Then, Mia showed up at Andy's office, trying to convince him to talk to me. Of course, Tim saw this and accused her of trying to seduce Andy, just like she had seduced him. Things got worse. Andy had to fire Tim for his behavior, which made everything even more chaotic. Tim and Mia broke up, and Tim became verbally abusive toward her. The next time my dad showed up at my door, he was in tears. He'd caught Karen sleeping with his cousin. For once, he was on the receiving end of betrayal. I couldn't help but remember his words when Tim cheated on me with Mia. "You should forgive them," he'd said. "Don't be petty." I told him, "Well, Dad, I guess I learned from the best." Now, my dad was dealing with his own divorce, and Tim and Mia were headed for theirs. My dad apologized to me for everything he had done to me and my mom, but it didn't change anything. I told him I had no feelings left for him, not even pity. If I ever decide to forgive him, it won't be for a long time. I won't be walking down the aisle with him. Andy and I are engaged now, and we're planning a small wedding, just close friends and family. Looking back, what started as petty revenge ended up being a lesson in karma. Tim and Mia's actions came back to bite them. I don't know if they'll ever truly understand the pain they caused, but I don't really care anymore. I'm moving forward. I'm finally in control of my own life.